US President Donald Trump once again extends the TikTok ban deadline. And Financial Secretary Paul Chan says Hong Kong will remain a free port and adhere to the rules-based multilateral trading system. Good evening and thank you for joining us. US President Donald Trump has extended the TikTok ban deadline for another 75 days. A deal on selling the popular video sharing app to a non-Chinese company has been put on hold amid Beijing's retaliations over Trump's new round of tariffs. Danny Zhou reports.
The TikTok ban in the United States is delayed again, just one day before it was set to go into effect. Donald Trump said on social media that he will be signing an executive order to extend the deadline another 75 days to June the 19th, as he seeks to broker a deal to bring the platform under American ownership. The US president says his team has made tremendous progress in their deal-making efforts. He said they do not want TikTok to go dark. Sources familiar with the matter said TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance, US TikTok investors and the Trump administration had agreed on a tentative spin-off deal. It is reported that the deal would see certain American venture capital, private equity funds and tech giants take control of TikTok's US assets. And ByteDance would maintain a minority position with a stake of 20%. While Trump was expected to sign the deal off in an executive order this week, Beijing hit the brakes following Washington's 34% reciprocal tariffs on Chinese goods. ByteDance representatives reportedly informed the White House that there will be no deal until negotiations about trade and tariffs. In the early hours of Saturday, ByteDance announced that they are engaged in talks with the American government on a potential solution, with no agreement reached. The company said there are key matters to be resolved. Any potential deal must undergo review procedures in accordance with Chinese laws. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
China's automotive and express delivery industries have condemned the levies for disrupting the global supply chain while placing additional burden on consumers worldwide. The U.S. announced additional tariffs of 34% on goods from mainland China and Hong Kong. The Chinese embassy in the U.S. criticized Washington's tariff policy for having violated the World Trade Organization rules. A spokesperson said the tariffs undermine the multilateral trading system and the balance of interests after years of multilateral negotiations. Financial Secretary Paul Chan said Hong Kong has been psychologically prepared for a trade war, stressing that the government has a risk monitoring mechanism in place to cushion its impact. How should Hong Kong deal with the escalating tariff war? That's the first question Financial Secretary Paul Chan was asked at a seminar held by the Hong Kong News Expo. The finance chief said Hong Kong has already geared up for it. Paul Chan said Hong Kong will have a monitoring mechanism in place to identify the latent risks that may threaten the financial system. Using an analogy, Chan said the city needs to have a strong buffer, which helps cushion the waves that batter ships and allow the vessels to stay afloat. He said regardless of the industry, the business environment is constantly changing, and one must keep up with the changes and adapt to changes. Chan added Hong Kong should be aware of whether the tariff war will slow down global economic development. When asked if Hong Kong would toe Beijing's policy and take countermeasures against Washington's tariffs, Chan said the SAR as a free port will adhere to a free, open and rules-based multilateral trading system, and that is Hong Kong's core strength and shall not change. Chan said Hong Kong will fortify its defense against the U.S. move but will maintain its open economy. The lines of defense, he said, include encouraging Hong Kong enterprises to expand into emerging markets in the global south. The tendering process for unused COVID-19 isolation facilities in Kai Tak has been completed. The government said the accommodation structures will be transformed into youth hostels starting in October. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Taking up an area of more than 80,000 square meters, the isolation facilities constructed by the central government in Kai Tak to combat the fifth wave of COVID-19 in 2022 offer over 2,700 units and are up to 4 stories high. The buildings, which were made in the modular integrated construction method, provide an independent washroom and air conditioner per unit. But after being unused for 2 years, it was suggested in the policy address last year that the units could be turned into a youth development facility. Through a tendering process, a company under the China Tourism Group was awarded the tender, which will operate the facility jointly with Dorset Hospitality International. 60% of the facility's total gross floor area will be transformed into a youth hostel, with organizers noting that cultural, sports, and international exchange events will be held on the premises over the course of the 5-year lease. Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs Alice Mack expected the youth facility to enter into service in October at the latest, adding that the Kai Tak site should be used as a hub for youngsters to engage in creative discourse. Meanwhile, the government is set to host a series of activities celebrating the 60th anniversary of Dongjiang water supply to the city. Besides art installations, authorities have also planned tours in the mainland for young people to see the water supply infrastructure. Alice Mack said the government will organize youth tours to the source of the Dongjiang water supply later this year to remind the younger generation of the importance of drinking water. Mack stressed the tours are an opportunity for mainland and local youngsters to interact with each other. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
And still ahead, record number of people travel in and out of Hong Kong through Shenzhen as the long weekend began. And anger after medical workers are killed in Gaza. Welcome back. Figures released today show a record-breaking 1.04 million people traveled across the mainland border during Qingming Festival yesterday. Timothy Lee reports.
Scores of residents and tourists flocked to the Hong Kong mainland border on Friday as many made their way across the country for the annual Tomb Sweeping Festival. Border authorities at Shenzhen reported a total of 532,000 travelers entering the city and 507,000 leaving it yesterday, beating a previous record high set in April 2019, surpassing that figure by 30,000. The daily traveler tally at the Futian and Shenzhen Bay ports also reached a new high since the city's return to post-COVID normalcy. Meanwhile, a record-breaking 13,000 vehicles traveled across the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge throughout Friday. The Transport Department expected an increase in cross-border tourists returning to Hong Kong via the various land border control points on Saturday and Sunday. The government expects a longer waiting time for public transport and has notified operators to strengthen services. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
As Israeli troops expand control of ground in northern Gaza, the International Red Cross and Palestinian Red Crescent demand to know how 15 medical workers were killed and buried in Gaza this week. David Garrett reports.
This is Israel's 401 Brigade hunting down Hamas. Israel says it is expanding ground operations in Gaza City and in the north. Evacuation orders are in place. There is concern among international groups that the IDF is not doing enough to protect civilians, heightened this week by the discovery of a mass grave of 15 medical responders. The UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs dug through debris to find them buried alongside mangled but clearly marked emergency vehicles. The UN say the workers from Gaza's Civil Defense, UNRWA, and 8 employees of the Red Crescent were killed by Israel.
I heard the voice of one of those team members who was killed, and his phone was found with his body, and he recorded the whole event. His last words before being shot: "Forgive me, Mom. I just wanted to help people. I wanted to save lives."
This session moderated by the International Federation of the Red Cross and Crescent, whose observer expressed anger for the organisation's deadliest day since 2017.
These dedicated ambulance workers were responding to wounded people. They were humanitarians. They wore emblems that should have been protected. Their ambulances were clearly marked and they should have returned to the families. They did not. Civilians must be protected. Humanitarians must be protected.
Israel is investigating the incident as it also comes under pressure from the UN Agency for Palestinians for killing more than 100 children since renewing its attacks on Gaza last month. David Garrett, TVB News.
Tibet's first electrified railway linking Lhasa and Ningqi opened about 4 years ago. As 90% of the route is higher than 3,000 meters above sea level. The oxygen equipment in the truck was specially designed. Samantha Lee tells us more.
Snowy mountains, woods, rivers. These road-class scenery are the signatures of the Lhasa-Ningqi Railway. With a total length of 435 kilometers connecting Lhasa and Ningqi, this is the first electrified railway in Tibet. It has a maximum speed of up to 160 kilometers per hour. The railway has been open for more than 4 years. As of February this year, it has carried approximately 3.7 million passengers and transported 1.30 million tons of cargo.
以前没有车的时候是这个是公路上走。
Baima Wangdui, the head of Lhasa Railway Station's passenger transport statistics section, said before the construction of the high-speed railway, people used to drive on the highways. He said it could be quite dangerous to drive on the edges of mountains. Located in a southern Tibetan valley between the Gangdas Mountains and the Himalayas, 90% of the route was higher than 3,000 meters above sea levels. In a bid to take good care of passengers, the oxygen equipment in the compartment was specially designed.
现在咱们可以看到这个上面这个夹层啊。
Luo Yuling, the head of the technology section of the Science and Information Department at China Railway Xinjiang Group, said oxygen is diffused inside the compartment, or passengers can intake oxygen from the bottom of the seats. It takes around 3.5 hours to travel from Lhasa to Ningqi on this high-speed rail, which is an hour faster than driving on the road. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
Located in Beijing's iconic central axis, the 600-year-old Zhengyang Gate Aero Tower earlier reopened after being off-limits to the public for 3 decades. Danny Zhou reports.
The iconic green glazed roof ridges are among the architectural hallmarks of the Zhengyang Gate Aero Tower. That's part of the extensive fortified gate complex that forms its imposing presence atop the hill. Built in 1439 during Ming Dynasty, the Aero Tower regained its luster after years of restoration efforts. It is the tallest Aero Tower in Beijing, built by the Ming government in order to beef up the defense capacity of Beijing. Its 12-meter-high terrace and its arched doors set themselves apart from other towers. This, as it is the only Aero Tower in the inner city of Beijing that comes with such a design. 24 meters high and 62 meters wide, the Aero Tower boasts 4 floors with a total of 94 aero windows in east, south and west. From the 4th floor, you're greeted with the panoramic view of Qimen Street. This Beijing resident said, apart from the sense of novelty, he was awed by the majestic craftsmanship. The 1st to 3rd floors are also featuring a special exhibition about Beijing's central axis. It showcases the rich piece decoration used on the roof ridge and the roof tiles. One of the most precious exhibits is this Qing Dynasty Kangxi Huiluan map, which illustrates the Kangxi Emperor's second tour to the southern areas of the country in 1689. Sitting on the palace sedan chair, the emperor entered the city from outside the Yongding Gate until the Taihe Dian, or the Hall of Supreme Harmony, passing through key buildings along the central axis, including the Jingshui Bridge and Zhengyang Gate. The exhibition also features 3D animations and models of various defense features of the city gates. This Beijing resident said the Zhengyang Gate and its Aero Tower try to serve and protect the city that reminded him of the history and misery of the Chinese civilization, which has gone through much invasion and devastation in the past. Visitors to the Aero Tower need to reserve in advance through WeChat, with a daily quota of about 800. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.